You're in my seat, Zebra Stuffy. Man, Zebra Stuffy. Always hanging out. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Here with Zebra Stuffy. It's a fan favorite in our house. Whoever feels sad or angry, you just got to give it a squeeze. Gentle rock. That's not the purpose of this video, but that is a little somatic practice you can play around with. Today, we're going to talk about pressure. How placing pressure on ourselves can trigger and perpetuate chronic pain and symptoms. And I'm going to go through some different strategies for ways we can reduce the pressure. And at the end of this video, I'm going to do a somatic practice for releasing pressure from your body. So, let's get into it. In my work with people with chronic pain and chronic symptoms, one of the main triggers that I see for symptoms, or what causes symptoms to be perpetuated, is pressure. Placing pressure on ourselves. Now, when we place pressure on ourselves, what happens is we go into this high sympathetic state where we're in this fight or flight mode. Now, a little bit of pressure is okay. We're all going to experience that in life, but in our society, unfortunately, we live in a really high pressure society. We have pressures coming at us from all directions. The way we internally place pressure on ourselves escalates things. And partly this is because there's such high expectations on us to perform, to always be doing, to performing, to being better. And for a lot of people with neuroplastic pain and symptoms, we place a lot of pressure on ourselves. Now for myself, I know one of the main triggers for my chronic pain is placing pressure on myself. Now, it's rare that I have chronic pain and symptoms now, almost never. But the odd time that I do, I would say like 8 times out of 10, it's because I'm placing pressure on myself. Now, I'll give you a little story to represent this. This was around last year, probably around this time in October, November. And at that point, I was doing some presentations. So I was doing 2 really big presentations in 2 different cities for medical professionals on, pain and symptoms being more a nervous system issue, a brain and nervous system issue. And now, presentations, I enjoy doing them, but I felt a lot of pressure. I was doing presentations for doctors and surgeons, and the pressure was building. And at first, I didn't notice it. So I was preparing my slides, I was rehearsing, and I did the first presentation, and it went really well. I got good feedback. People were really interested in the topic. Now what happened is the presentations were a week apart. So after I did the first presentation, my daughter had a medical crisis where basically we were at home and she was having retractions where she was sucking in around her neck. If you ever see your kid or an adult doing this, it's not a good sign. It means that your lungs aren't functioning properly. And we had to rush her to the hospital. And basically she got placed on full oxygen. And it was kind of touch and go for a couple of days, but luckily she recovered. Now this happened, a day or 2 before the second presentation. Now, as she was recovering, I went to the gym. And at the gym, all of a sudden I started to develop back pain. And it was pretty painful, to be honest. It was like an 8 out of 10. Came on right after I did an exercise. Kind of was spreading into my legs. And the old me would have been like, okay, I've damaged my body. What's going on? But I know myself really well. And this is an old symptom that I had. So I was pretty certain it was neuroplastic, plus I had all these events take place. And what I realized is I was placing so much pressure on myself at that time period. and I wasn't attending to it. I wasn't working on actually releasing it or reducing the pressure in any way. And as a result, my brain and nervous system let me know. It let me know, like, hey, there is too much danger. I've been in this sympathetic mode for too long. Now, again, I want to tell people, being in the sympathetic state or system in your nervous system, it's not negative always. It mobilizes us. We need that mobilized energy to function in life. But if you drop into like a high fight or flight state for a prolonged period of time, and pressure can do this, your brain and nervous system is going to let you know. It's going to warn you, hey, like, you've been functioning in this state for too long. And so this was a clear example, even for myself, where I wasn't taking care of myself. Plus, I had a pretty major event where my daughter was very, very ill. And so all of this combined, the pressure had just gotten too big, and I started to get chronic pain and symptoms. Now, a question I get a lot on this channel is, how do I reduce the pressure? It sounds a little abstract. How do I actually reduce the pressure? Now, I'm going to go through some different strategies here for how you can do that, how you can reduce it, and we'll do a meditation, a somatic practice at the end for releasing pressure. But some of these strategies people aren't going to like. A lot of people watching this channel are likely have some perfectionistic tendencies. When we have neuroplastic pain and symptoms, perfectionism is a major cause of that, and pressure, of course, is very involved in that. So sometimes we don't like the actual solution. So what I'm going to go through is I'm going to talk about behaviorally, cognitively, and somatically, ways you can reduce the pressure. So let's start behaviorally. Behaviorally, these are the simplest strategies that I teach, but it's actually slowing down. With pressure, what happens is we become so urgent. There's such an urgency to do and speed up and do more. And so behaviorally, to reduce the pressure, it's as simple as doing less and slowing down. And when I said sometimes people don't like the answer to this is a big reason, because we don't feel like we can slow down. We don't feel like we can do less. There's such urgency involved. And so you don't need to slow down your life by half the amount, but you do need to slow down to some degree. And so I always think about slowing down your movements as you're going about your day, slowing down your speech, slowing down the way you're engaging in work tasks or activities. And it doesn't need to be extreme. Even if it's just 10%, it's going to make a big difference. And so when my pain came on, and again, this pain, it only lasted for probably half a day. It was so brief because I've really gotten into the habit of how I deal with a pain flare happening for myself. But when the pain came on, I slowed it down. I cut out as much work as I possibly could in that period. And by doing that, the pressure just naturally lowered. I did less, I took things off my to-do list, and I really slowed it down. And by doing that, this sometimes is enough. This is enough to reduce the pressure enough that our pain and symptoms can start to reduce. Now, the next area where we can reduce pressure is cognitively. We can reduce the pressure cognitively. Because what happens with our thoughts is we have so many fear thoughts, we get preoccupied, we get hyper-focused on whatever we're doing, whether it's our pain or whether it's activities at work. And this was happening to me. I was hyper-focused in making these presentations the absolute best. And one thing I didn't realize was happening is the stakes were getting so high. Alan Gordon talks about this. The stakes got so high for me where I thought, this presentation needs to be done on 150%. It needs to be the absolute best, or my whole business is going to fall apart. This is what my thoughts were kind of sneakily doing this and where I was getting to. And so I lowered the stakes. I really thought about it. And I was like, even if I blow this second presentation and I just suck, it's awful, it'll be okay. My whole business isn't going to fall apart. It's for 30 people and I'll move on from there. And so I was giving myself these cognitive messages of safety by reducing the pressure, by lowering the stakes. lowering the stakes is really important because the stakes can feel so high about everything that we're doing when we're in this pressure zone, when we're in that high sympathetic zone. So practice lowering the stakes. What I tell people to do, and I've mentioned this on the channel before, is rate your problem. On a 0 to 10, how big of a deal is it? And this presentation probably landed at a 2, right? It was at a 2. And if I blew it, it wasn't going to be the end of the world. And sometimes we don't have the ability to rate our problem accurately. Take a poll. Ask your friends, ask your family with a problem that you're facing. Where would you rate this on a 0 to 10 of how urgent it is? Now, with my daughter, I couldn't really change that, right? Because with my daughter, there was a lot of urgency. There was a lot of pressure. It was very touch and go, especially for that first day. But as she started to recover, as the medication was working for her, as she was starting to breathe on her own again, I was able to lower the pressure. I made sure I didn't stay in that high survival mode. I reminded myself, okay, she's moving in the right direction. Things are going to be okay. And by doing that, it lowered the pressure around that situation as well. Now, somatically, we can reduce the pressure and we can practice releasing pressure. And that's what we're going to practice right now. I'll do a bit of a somatic practice for releasing pressure from our body. Because with pressure, we feel it a certain way in our body if we connect to it. It's often, really felt as like this tension, this tightness, this constricting. And we need to learn to release that somatically to help move through. And this somatic practice, I want to say, sometimes even doing this first will give you more of an ability to slow down behaviorally, and it'll give you more of an ability to challenge and change your thinking and lower the stakes. So sometimes, I know I'm speaking to it last here and we're going to do the practice, but sometimes even starting with this can be really helpful to do the other 2 areas that I've talked about. So what I want you all to do is you can close your eyes or keep them open, whatever you prefer. But what I want you to do is visualize a situation where you're feeling a lot of pressure. Really allowing yourself to visualize it. Nothing too intense. We want to practice with a mild to moderate level right now. But visualize a situation where you feel pressure. Maybe it's something current or something in the recent past. Really bring it to mind. And then what I want you all to do is notice in your body where you start to experience the pressure, where you start to experience that sympathetic energy. And all we're doing right now is identifying it in our body and just describing it. Is it tension? Does it feel really solid? Really notice where the sensations are and how you're feeling them. And if it's accessible to you right now, see if you can drop in, like with each exhale, drop into your body and really approach it and explore all the subtleties to it. As I often say on this channel, notice, what's the texture? What's the shape, size, or color of the sensations you're experiencing? And if it gets overwhelming, you can shift to a more pleasant or neutral place in your body. But if you're able to sit here, allow yourself really to be present with that pressureful energy that you feel. Now, what I want us to all practice doing, as you focus on the pressure in your body, we're going to breathe in a certain way. So I want you to breathe in warm air right to where you feel that pressure. And then as you exhale with a little bit of force, visualize releasing that pressure. Now what I want you all to do is as you breathe in, I want you to tighten your body, tighten your fists and arms. And as you exhale, allow everything to loosen and relax. Do whatever breathing pattern works for you. If mine doesn't match yours, that's okay. But breathing in, tightening, and exhaling and releasing. Feeling any release or relief as you exhale and loosen. Now, I almost want you to go through from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet and really allow yourself to loosen each muscle group, starting with your face. You can loosen up by doing a little movement, or you can stay still, whatever works for you. Loosening your neck, your shoulders. Letting your shoulders drop with each exhale. Loosening your arms. Allowing your chest and your torso to lighten and loosen with each exhale. And now loosening your legs, your upper legs, all the way to your lower legs, down into your feet. Again, subtle movement is okay here if it feels right for you. Again, this is your own practice, so you can change it however you need. And what I like to do at the end of releasing pressure from the body is just giving your body a gentle shake. Just a gentle shake, shaking your hands and arms, shoulders. If it's easier for you, you can stand up. I know you can't see my face at this point, but just loosening up, bouncing, allowing your body to loosen as you just shake it out. I always like to do a gentle sway side to side, whether I'm sitting or standing. Just imagining that pressure, just loosening and releasing. Now just check in with your body. Noticing where your body's at right now. You can place your hand on your stomach and your chest. Just breathing deep. It's a nice long exhale. Just soothing any of that pressure or sympathetic energy that's left in your body. And then we'll bring this practice to an end. So I hope this video was helpful for everyone in terms of understanding how pressure can affect us, affect our chronic pain and symptoms, and how we can release it behaviorally, cognitively, and somatically. So thank you everyone for watching. Take care.